My name is Laura Bennett. I'm 34. When the knock came, it wasn't loud. Just 3 careful taps, like whoever it was didn't want to be accused of anything. I was standing in my kitchen with one sock on, the other still in my hand. The kettle had just clicked off. Steam fogged the cabinet door and left a wet line down the wood. I didn't rush. I never rushed to doors. The knock came again. Same rhythm. Polite. Controlled. I walked over and looked through the peephole. It took less than a second to know. Her hair was shorter than I remembered. Grayer. The part still slightly off-center, like she never bothered to fix it. She stood angled away from the door, as if she might leave before I answered. My stomach did something old and sharp. She knocked again. Softer this time. "Laura," she said. She said my name like it was something she'd been practicing. I slid the chain halfway into place before I opened the door. The metal scraped louder than I meant it to. I didn't apologize. The hallway smelled like cleaner and someone's burned toast. Mrs. Hernandez from 2 doors down was struggling with grocery bags, keys clenched between her fingers. My mother looked at me and smiled. There it was. The same smile she used to wear when she needed something to go smoothly. "I wasn't sure you'd answer," she said. I didn't say anything. I just kept my hand on the door. She glanced down at the chain, then back up at me. "That's fair," she added quickly. "I deserve that." She said it lightly, like a joke that could be taken back if it landed wrong. This was not how I imagined it, if I ever let myself imagine it at all. For years, I told myself that if she ever showed up, I'd know exactly what to say, that I'd feel something clear, anger, relief, closure. Instead, I felt 12 again, counting the seconds between the sound of a car door and the engine pulling away. She shifted her weight. "You look good," she said. "Healthy." I nodded once. My throat was tight in a way that didn't feel dramatic, just mechanical. Behind her, the hallway light flickered. Someone laughed inside one of the apartments. Life continuing. Indifferent. "I didn't think you'd still be here," she said. "I'm not," I replied. "This is just where I live. As for..." She smiled again, smaller. "Of course." There was a pause, an awkward one. She glanced down the hall like she might be blocking traffic. "Can I come in?" she asked. "Just for a minute. I don't want to do this out here." I looked at her shoes. Sensible flats. Worn at the heel. The kind she used to kick off by the door. "No," I said. The word came out steadier than I felt. Her smile faltered. Just a flicker. Then she nodded. "Okay. That's okay. Don't eat a." She folded her hands together, fingers interlaced tight enough to show white at the knuckles. "I just wanted to see you," she said. "I needed you to know I've been thinking about you." Mrs. Hernandez walked past us, eyes forward, pretending not to listen while listening to everything. My mother lowered her voice. "I didn't leave because I didn't love you." There it was. No hello. No apology. Straight to the defense. I felt something settle in my chest, heavy and familiar. "You locked the door," I said. She blinked. "Laura?" "You locked it," I repeated. "From the outside." Her mouth opened, then closed. She exhaled slowly through her nose. "It was complicated," she said. "You were safe." I made sure of that. I watched her lips form the words. Safe. Made sure. I thought about the sound of the deadbolt sliding. The click that told me I wasn't allowed to follow. The chain between us rattled as I shifted my grip. "You drove away," I said. She shook her head slightly, like correcting a small error. "I left, so you wouldn't see." "That's not better," I said. Her eyes filled quickly. She always cried fast. "It used to work on me." "I did what I had to do," she said. "I thought it would be temporary." I waited. She didn't add anything. Behind me, the kettle began to scream. I hadn't noticed it boiling again. I stepped back just enough to turn it off, keeping the door open, the chain taut. The whistle cut off abruptly, leaving a ringing silence. When I turned back, she was wiping her eyes with the edge of her sleeve. "I was young," she said. I was overwhelmed. You know how things were. I did know. I knew exactly how things were. That's your version, I said. She stiffened. What does that mean? It means we remember it differently. She looked at me, searching my face for something. Forgiveness. Permission. A sign that she could keep going. I didn't abandon you, she said. I made arrangements. My fingers tightened around the door. I could feel the grain of the wood under my thumb. You didn't tell me, I said. You didn't say goodbye. She swallowed. I thought it would be easier. For who? She hesitated. A door down the hall opened and closed. Footsteps passed. Someone cleared their throat loudly, making their presence known. My mother glanced around again, embarrassed now. This isn't the place, she said. Can we talk somewhere else? Coffee? Tomorrow? I shook my head. No. Her jaw tightened. I leaned closer to the crack in the door. You don't get to use my name like that. That landed. I saw it. She took a small step back. I just want a chance, she said. That's all I'm asking. I thought about the manila folder in the bottom drawer of my desk. The one I'd requested years ago and never opened all the way. The one with my name misspelled on the tab. I didn't knock on your door, I said. You knocked on mine. She looked confused. What does that mean? It means you don't get to decide how this goes. She stared at me. The hallway light buzzed overhead. I'll be around, she said finally, if you change your mind. I didn't answer. I started to close the door. Laura, she said again, sharper this time. You don't know the whole story. I paused, the door halfway shut, chain still hooked. I know enough, I said. She opened her mouth to argue. I closed the door instead. The lock clicked into place. Solid. Final. I stood there with my forehead against the wood, listening to her footsteps fade down the hall. Then my phone buzzed in my pocket. The phone buzzed again before I moved. I stayed where I was, forehead against the door, listening for sounds in the hallway. The elevator dinged somewhere below. A door opened, closed. Normal building noise filling the space she'd just left behind. I pushed off the door and looked at the screen. Unknown number. I didn't answer it. I slid the phone face down on the kitchen counter and leaned there, palms flat, breathing until the tightness in my chest backed off a notch. The kettle was still warm when I picked it up. I poured the water into a mug without tea and drank it plain, burning my tongue just enough to feel something else. I didn't cry. That surprised me. I sat at the small table by the window and stared at the street. A delivery truck double-parked. Someone honked. A kid dragged a scooter over cracked pavement. This was my life. Quiet. Earned. Mine. When I was 12, life had not felt like that. The memory came without warning, like it always did. It was late afternoon. Sunlight slanted across the living room carpet, catching dust in the air. I remember because I was lying on my stomach, coloring with a pen that was already running out of ink. She was moving fast, shoes on, purse over her shoulder. I'll be right back, she said. I didn't look up. She said it all the time. The door opened. Then I heard the sound that never belonged to me. The deadbolt sliding into place from the outside. I stood up slowly, walked to the door, turned the knob, locked. I knocked. Lightly at first. Then, harder. Nothing. The engine started, tires on gravel. I stayed there until my hands hurt from pounding, until my throat was sore from calling her name. I didn't know how long I stood there. Time did something strange that day. It stretched and folded in on itself. Eventually, Mrs. Keller from next door noticed. She knocked. She called through the door. She tried the knob too. She broke the lock with her husband's shoulder. That part everyone remembers as chaotic. Sirens, questions, clipboards. What I remember is standing in Mrs. Keller's kitchen, holding a glass of orange juice I didn't want, staring at the back door like it might open and explain itself. My phone buzzed again. This time, there was a voicemail notification. I let it sit. Evan came home an hour later. He stopped when he saw my face. She was here, I said. He didn't ask who. He set his bag down slowly and waited. She knocked, I added, like a normal person. He nodded once. Do you want to tell me what happened? I told him everything I could without letting my voice shake. The chain. The hallway. The way she said my name. She said she didn't abandon you, he said carefully. She said she made arrangements. He frowned. Did she? I don't know, I said. I was 12. I wasn't part of the arrangement. That night, after Evan fell asleep, I pulled the bottom drawer of my desk open. The folder was where I always kept it. Manila. Bent at the corners. My last name written in block letters, slightly wrong. One extra N. I didn't open it yet. I just set it on the desk and stared at it like it might move. I'd requested the records years ago, after a therapist asked if I'd ever seen the official report. I told myself it was curiosity, closure, something like that. When the envelope arrived, I put it away. Some things felt safer as questions. My phone buzzed again. This time, it was a text. It's Mom. I know you're upset. I just want to talk. I deleted it without replying. Another came through minutes later. I never meant to hurt you. That one stayed on the screen longer. My thumb hovered. Then I deleted it too. The next morning, I went to work like nothing had happened. I answered calls, corrected billing codes, drank bad coffee from a paper cup. Around noon, my phone rang. The same unknown number. I stepped into the stairwell to answer it. Laura, she said immediately. Thank you for picking up. Is that? I didn't say you could call, I replied. A pause, then a sigh. I just need you to hear me. I heard you yesterday. That wasn't everything. It was enough. She lowered her voice, like we were sharing something. I had help. People were involved. What people? Another pause. Different this time. Calculating. Social services, she said. A friend. It was handled. My grip tightened on the metal railing, cold against my palm. You never told me that, I said. I didn't think it mattered. It mattered to me. Well, she said, a little defensive now. You were fine, weren't you? The word landed wrong. I was 12, I said. I didn't have a choice. You were safe, she insisted. That's what matters. I closed my eyes. The stairwell smelled like dust and old paint. Do you have proof? I asked. Proof of what? Proof that it was handled. She laughed softly, like I was being dramatic. Laura, this was years ago. Away. That's not an answer. I did what I thought was best, she said. You don't need paperwork to understand that. I pictured the folder on my desk. The weight of it. Yes, I said quietly. I do. Her tone sharpened. Why are you digging this up? Haven't we both moved on? I opened my eyes and looked down the concrete steps, each one scuffed and worn from use. I moved on, I said. You showed up. Silence stretched between us. I can come by again, she said finally. We can talk properly. No, I replied. You can't keep shutting me out. I can, I said. I have been. Her breath hitched. You're being unfair. That's your word, I said. I hung up before she could say my name again. That afternoon, I left work early. At home, I finally opened the folder. The paper smelled old, institutional. Black and white text stamped with a date from that year. I skimmed it first. Intake summary, observations, recommendations. Then, I saw the word, abandoned, printed cleanly in the middle of the page. Not temporary, not handled, not arranged. Abandoned by parent. My hands shook as I read on. The doorbell rang. I looked up at the clock. Too early for Evan. Too late for deliveries. The doorbell rang again. I closed the folder slowly. I didn't answer the door right away. I stood in the living room with the folder open on the table, one hand still resting on the page like it might disappear if I let go. The words sat there, unemotional, typed by someone who didn't know me and didn't need to. Abandoned by parent. The doorbell rang again. Longer this time. I slid the folder back into its sleeve and tucked it under my arm. The paper felt heavier now that I'd read it. When I opened the door, I didn't use the chain. She was standing there with her purse clutched in both hands, shoulders squared like she'd practiced being calm. Her eyes flicked down the hall, then back to me. I was worried, she said. You hung up on me. You didn't need to come here, I replied. I needed to make sure you were okay. I stepped aside just enough to keep her outside, but let the door stay open. The hallway was busy this time. Someone arguing on the phone near the stairs. A kid running past with socks sliding on the floor. She noticed the folder immediately. What's that? She asked. Paperwork, I said. Her mouth tightened. Laura, this isn't how this should go. Ada, then you should leave. She took a breath like she was about to protest, then stopped herself. Can we talk out here? That's what we're doing. She nodded, lips pressed together. I didn't expect you to be like this. Like what? So. Closed, she said. I thought time would help. It did, I said. For me. She glanced down the hall again as someone slowed near us. This is private. You made it public when you knocked. Her eyes flicked back to the folder. Is that about me? Yes. She exhaled sharply. I told you, it was handled. I opened the folder just enough for her to see the top page. Not the word yet. Just the header, the seal, the formatting that made it official. Her face changed. Not fear. Recognition. Where did you get that? She asked. I asked for it. You didn't need to do that. I needed the truth. She shook her head. That's not the truth. That's paperwork. That paperwork says you abandoned me. And it was no here. Her jaw tightened. They didn't know everything. They knew enough to write that. She stepped closer without thinking. I stepped back just as automatically. Don't, I said. She froze, hands lifting slightly, palms open. I'm not trying to hurt you. You already did. Her eyes filled again. Slower this time. I was protecting you. From what? She hesitated. The hallway noise filled the gap. Myself, she said finally. From being a bad mother. That's related for those. I laughed once, before I could stop myself. It came out sharp. That didn't work, I said. A door opened nearby. Someone glanced over openly now. My mother lowered her voice. You don't understand how hard it was. I understand that you locked the door, I replied, and left. I came back, she said. Years later, I said, to my door. She reached out again, stopping short this time. I just want a chance to explain. You've had years. Her shoulders slumped. I didn't know where you were. You could have found out. She looked away. That was answer enough. People will hear this, she warned quietly. They won't understand. I'm not explaining it to them, I said. I'm explaining it to you. I flipped the page open fully and read the sentence out loud. My voice shook, but I didn't stop. Minor left alone in locked residence. Parent departed voluntarily. Case classified as abandonment. The hallway went quiet around us. Not silent, just attentive. She stared at the page like it had betrayed her. That's not how it happened, she whispered. That's how it was recorded. She shook her head. You can't do this to me. I'm not doing anything, I said. I'm holding a piece of paper. Her face hardened. You always were dramatic. The words landed and stayed there. I closed the folder. That's enough, I said. She looked up, startled. Enough of what? This, I said. All of it. Incensed. You're just gonna shut me out again. I'm not shutting you out, I said. I'm not letting you in. She opened her mouth, then stopped. Her eyes flicked to the folder, one last time. I'll call you, she said, like it was a decision she could still make. No, I replied. She stood there, waiting for something else. I stepped back and closed the door. This time, I didn't lean against it. I locked it, slid the folder onto the counter, and picked up my phone as it started to ring again. The phone kept ringing until it stopped. I didn't look at the screen. I already knew who it was. I slid the phone face down and stood at the counter, staring at the folder like it might open itself. The paper inside felt louder now, like it had a voice I couldn't turn off. I didn't sleep much that night. Every time I closed my eyes, I heard the deadbolt, felt the knob turn uselessly in my hand. I got up twice to check the lock on my door, even though I knew it was fine. In the morning, there was a voicemail. Her voice was calmer this time. Careful, Laura. I don't like how yesterday went. I think we both said things we didn't mean. I'd like to talk this through like adults. Call me. Like adults. I deleted it. At work, I couldn't focus. I typed the same billing note 3 times and erased it. My supervisor asked if I was okay. I said yes too quickly. Around mid-afternoon, my Uncle Tom called. I heard from your mom, he said without preamble. I leaned back in my chair and stared at the ceiling tiles. One of them had a brown water stain shaped like a hand. I figured, I said. She's pretty upset. I'm sure. She says you're holding on to things that aren't accurate. I didn't respond. Laura, he continued, softer now. She didn't have it easy. That doesn't change what she did. He sighed. Families make mistakes. This wasn't a mistake, I said. It was a decision. He was quiet for a moment. Do you really want this to turn into something ugly? I thought about the hallway. The way people had slowed down. The way my mother's voice had dropped when she realized she had an audience. I didn't turn it into anything, I said. She came to me. She's your mother. And I was her kid. He didn't argue after that. He just said, think about it, and hung up. That night, I sat on the floor with the folder open, reading every page carefully this time. Not skimming, not bracing. Names, times, observations. One line mentioned that the residence was secured from the outside. Another noted that the minor appeared confused but unharmed. Unharmed. I traced the word with my finger. There was a phone number listed near the end. A social worker's name I vaguely recognized. Linda Hayes. I stared at it for a long time before dialing. She answered on the third ring. Linda Hayes, she said. My name is Laura Bennett, I replied. You handled my case when I was 12. There was a pause, papers shifting. Yes, she said slowly. I remember. Did my mother ever come back? I asked. Another pause. Longer. No, she said. She didn't. The answer settled into me with a strange calm. She told me it was temporary, I said. I'm sorry, Linda replied. That's not what we observed. Did she make arrangements? There were no arrangements, she said gently. Emergency placement was made after neighbors intervened. I closed my eyes. Thank you, I said. After I hung up, I didn't feel relieved. I felt finished. The phone buzzed again an hour later. A text this time. Your uncle says you're being cruel. I didn't reply. Another message followed. I deserve a chance to explain myself without you embarrassing me. I stared at the words until the screen dimmed. That night, Evan sat beside me on the couch, the folder between us on the coffee table. You don't owe her anything, he said. I know, I replied. But she thinks I do. He nodded. What are you going to do? I closed the folder and stacked it neatly, lined up the edges. I'm not going to argue, I said. I'm not going to convince her. The phone lit up again. Unknown number. I let it ring. The next morning, I woke up to silence. No buzzing phone, no missed calls. No new messages stacked on the screen like evidence I hadn't asked for. That should have felt like relief. Instead, it felt like the quiet before something else. I made coffee and stood at the counter while it brewed, watching the drip slow near the end. The folder sat where I'd left it, squared and deliberate, like it belonged there now. I went to work late. No one commented. Around 10, my phone vibrated. A voicemail notification this time, not from an unknown number, from my Uncle Tom. I waited until lunch to listen. Laura, he said, voice low. Your mom is not doing well. She says you humiliated her in front of strangers. People are talking. I chewed my sandwich slowly, tasting nothing. She's asking me to talk to you, he continued. Just hear her out, for everyone's sake. Everyone's sake always meant hers. I didn't call him back. Instead, I emailed the records office again. Short, polite. One question. Was there any follow-up documentation from after the intake? The reply came faster than I expected. Yes, additional notes available. Pickup required. I left work early again. The building was quiet when I arrived. The receptionist slid a thin envelope across the counter without looking at me. "Sign here," she said. I signed. My hand was steady. In the car, I opened the envelope carefully, like it might fall apart. More pages, progress notes, a brief summary written weeks later. No contact from parent. Case closed. I sat there longer than I meant to, hands resting in my lap, the papers spread across the passenger seat. This wasn't new information, but it was final. When I got home, my phone was ringing. This time, it was a number I recognized. Ruth Keller. I hadn't spoken to her in years. "Laura," she said when I answered. "Your mother stopped by my place." My chest tightened. "Why?" "She wanted me to tell her side," Ruth said. "I didn't." H. I leaned against the kitchen counter. "What did you say?" "I said you were a quiet kid," Ruth replied. "And that you waited a long time by that door." I closed my eyes. "She didn't like that," Ruth added. "She said you've always been dramatic." There it was again. The same word. Passed along like a script. "Thank you for telling me," I said. "She might try again," Ruth warned. "She doesn't like not being believed." After we hung up, I lined the new papers up with the old ones. Stacked. Ordered. Complete. My phone buzzed almost immediately. A text. "I talked to Ruth. I can't believe what you're doing." I typed once, then erased it. Another message followed. "If you keep this up, people are going to think I abandoned you." I stared at the sentence until my hands started shaking. Think. As if it were still up for debate. I didn't respond. I blocked the number instead. The screen went quiet again. Cleaner this time. I slid the entire stack of papers back into the folder and placed it in my desk drawer. Then I closed the drawer. I didn't feel triumphant. I felt clear. That evening, someone knocked on the door. Not careful this time. Card. Insistent. I didn't move. The knock came again. I stood still until the knocking stopped. It didn't, not right away. Whoever it was leaned into it, letting the sound carry down the hallway. A door opened somewhere. Someone muttered. The building settling into attention again. I knew without checking. I waited until the knock turned into a pause. Then another knock, softer this time. Calculated. I walked to the door and looked through the peephole. My mother stood there with her chin lifted, jaw set. No purse this time. Arms crossed like she was bracing against wind. I didn't open the door. "Laura," she called through the wood. "I know you're home." I stayed quiet. "You can't ignore me forever," she said. "This is getting out of hand." Out of hand. Like a situation she could still manage. Someone passed behind her. She turned slightly, lowering her voice. "I just want to talk," she said. "You're making me look like a monster." That did it. I opened the door, chain in place. Her eyes flashed with relief that didn't last. "There you are," she said. "I was worried you were spiraling." "I asked you not to come back," I replied. "You blocked me," she said. "I had no choice." "It's R. You always think you don't." She exhaled sharply. "You don't understand what you're doing." "I do," I said. She stepped closer, stopping short of the chain. "People are asking questions." "That's not my problem." "It is when they're asking me," she snapped. Then she caught herself and softened her tone. "I'm your mother. I shouldn't have to defend myself to strangers." I didn't answer. She glanced down the hall, then back at me. "You pulled out paperwork like a weapon. And every port." "It's a record," I said. "There's a difference. That paper doesn't tell the whole story." "It tells enough." She shook her head. "You were fine. You landed on your feet. Look at you. That doesn't erase what happened." Her mouth tightened. "I didn't think you'd punish me forever." "I'm not punishing you," I said. "I'm stopping." She frowned. "Stopping what?" "Access," I said. "To me." Her eyes hardened. "You don't get to rewrite our relationship." I didn't, I replied. You did. This having this is our. A door opened behind her. Someone lingered, pretended to check their phone. My mother noticed and lowered her voice again. You're embarrassing me. I'm standing in my doorway, I said. You're the one raising your voice. She stared at me like she didn't recognize me anymore. You always were stubborn, she said. Just like your father. I felt the familiar tug to defend myself, to explain, to soften. I didn't. I'm asking you to leave, I said. You can't mean that. I do. Actually, her face flushed. After everything I went through, I held her gaze. After everything you chose. She opened her mouth, then closed it. Her hands dropped to her sides. You think you're so righteous, she said quietly, dragging this out for everyone to see. I didn't drag anything, I replied. You keep knocking. She took a step back, then another. Fine, she said. If this is how you want it. It is. She nodded once, sharp. Don't expect me to keep trying. I didn't respond. She turned and walked down the hall, heels tapping faster than necessary. I closed the door and slid the lock into place. This time, I didn't wait. I picked up my phone and blocked the last number connected to her. Then I opened my email and wrote one sentence to my uncle. Please don't pass messages between us anymore. I hit send. My phone stayed quiet. The quiet lasted 3 days. Not a single call. No texts slipped through. No messages rerouted through someone else pretending to be neutral. I didn't trust it. I carried my phone with me everywhere, even into the shower, setting it on the sink where steam fogged the screen. I checked the hallway before opening my door. Old habits don't disappear just because you name them. On the 4th day, Evan texted me while I was at work. She's downstairs. My stomach dropped so fast it felt physical. I called him immediately. She didn't come up, he said. She was standing by the mailboxes. Asked the doorman if you still lived here. My grip tightened around the phone. What did he say? That he couldn't give out information. I closed my eyes. Did she leave? Eventually, he said, but not before she made sure people heard her. He didn't have to explain that part. When I got home that night, there was a note slid halfway under my door. No envelope. Just a folded piece of lined paper, the edge creased from being shoved through the gap. I stared at it for a long time before picking it up. Her handwriting was exactly the same. Tight, slanted, controlled. Laura, I don't recognize you anymore. This isn't what I raised. I hope someday you understand how much you hurt me. No apology? No acknowledgement? Just a rewrite. I didn't tear it up. I didn't throw it away. I set it on the counter next to the folder, like they belonged to the same story. The next morning, my Uncle Tom called again. I let it go to voicemail. Your mom is telling people you're unstable, he said. That you're twisting things. She's saying you're exaggerating what happened. Exaggerating. I played the message twice. At lunch, I sat in my car and stared at the steering wheel. The leather worn smooth, where my hands rested. I thought about the hallway. The neighbors slowing down. The way she kept lowering her voice like volume was the problem. I thought about the word on the page. Abandoned. That evening, there was a knock at my door. Not her rhythm this time. 2 short knocks, a pause. I opened it without the chain. Ruth Keller stood there holding a grocery bag. I made soup, she said. You don't have to take it. I stepped aside and let her in. She set the bag on the counter and glanced around, taking in the space, the framed photos, the plants by the window. She came by again, Ruth said quietly, to my place. I nodded. What did she say this time? That you're cruel, Ruth replied. That you've always been difficult. I let out a breath I didn't realize I'd been holding. Ruth looked at me. I told her she locked the door. I swallowed. What did she say? She said she had reasons. Ruth shook her head. I told her reasons don't change actions. I looked down at the counter. The note sat there, accusing and neat. She's telling people I'm unstable, I said. Ruth's mouth tightened. Then, you may need to stop this from becoming a story she controls. I didn't answer right away. How? I asked. Ruth glanced at the folder. By not arguing. By being done. That night, I wrote one final message. Not to her. To everyone else. I emailed my uncle, short and factual. I attached one page. The intake summary. Nothing highlighted. No commentary. Then I blocked his number too. My phone went silent again. This time, it stayed that way. Until the next knock. The knock came late, after dark. I was sitting on the couch with my feet tucked under me, the TV muted, Evan half asleep beside me. The sound cut through the room sharply, 3 firm knocks that didn't ask permission. Evan straightened. Do you want me to get it? No, I said. My voice surprised me. It didn't shake. I stood and walked to the door, every step measured. I didn't check the peephole this time. When I opened it, the chain was already in place. My mother stood there with someone I didn't recognize. A woman about my age, hair pulled back tight, arms crossed like she was ready for a meeting. This is Karen, my mother said quickly. She's a friend. She thought it might help to have a neutral person. A neutral person. The hallway light buzzed overhead. 2 doors were open farther down. A man leaned out slightly, pretending to water a plant. I didn't agree to this, I said. Karen smiled thinly. I'm just here to help keep things calm. I didn't ask you to, I replied. My mother sighed loudly. You're making this harder than it needs to be. I felt Evan come up behind me, close enough that I could feel his presence without him saying anything. This isn't happening, I said. Karen tilted her head. Laura, your mom is very worried about you. The way you've been reacting. I cut her off. You don't know me. End quote. My mother jumped in. She's been unstable since she was a kid. You know that. The word hit harder coming out of her mouth. I reached back and picked up the folder from the entry table. I hadn't planned to. My hand just went there. Karen's eyes flicked to it. You want calm? I asked. This is calm. I opened the folder and held it up, not shoving it forward, just letting it exist between us. This is the intake report from when I was 12, I said. When she locked the door and drove away, my mother's face drained of color. You don't need to do this, Karen frowned. Is that official? Yes, I said. County records. I flipped to the page and read, steady and clear. Minor left alone in locked residence. Parent departed voluntarily. The hallway had gone quiet again. Even the buzzing light seemed louder. Karen's arms dropped to her sides. Is that accurate? She asked my mother. My mother's mouth opened. She's twisting it, she said finally. She always does. I turned the page. No contact from parent, I read. Case closed. Karen didn't look at me this time. She looked at my mother. You didn't go back? She asked. My mother's jaw clenched. That's not the point. Karen took a small step back. I think I should go. My mother reached for her arm. Wait, Karen gently pulled free. This isn't what you told me. Do fix. She nodded once at me, awkward and apologetic, then walked down the hall without looking back. My mother stood there alone now. This is what you wanted, she said. To make me look bad. I wanted you to stop, I replied. She stared at the folder like it might accuse her again. You didn't have to do this in public, she said. You brought witnesses, I said. Her shoulders slumped. For a moment, she looked older than I remembered. I knocked because I needed you, she said quietly. And I didn't answer because I needed me, I replied. She took a step back. I hope you're happy, she said. I'm done, I said. I closed the door. I slid the lock into place. Behind it, the hallway filled with footsteps and murmurs. Inside, the apartment was quiet. The fallout didn't come all at once. It trickled in, slow and deliberate, like someone testing whether the door was really locked. The first message came from a cousin I hadn't spoken to in years. Hey, are you okay? Your mom is really struggling. I didn't reply. Then an email from my uncle. You didn't have to embarrass her like that. Karen feels misled. This could have been handled privately. Handled. I deleted it without opening the attachment, he'd added. At work, my phone stayed face down. I finished tasks early just to stay busy. Reorganized files that didn't need reorganizing. Cleaned out a drawer that held nothing important. That evening, Ruth called again. "She's telling people you read things out of context," Ruth said. "That you're angry and exaggerating." I sat on the edge of the couch, folder open in my lap, the pages soft from handling. "She says you're punishing her," Ruth added. I looked at the sentence again. Case closed. "I'm not punishing her," I said. "I'm not engaging." "That's what she can't stand," Ruth replied. No argument. After we hung up, I put the folder back in the drawer and locked it. I didn't need to read it again. The next day, my supervisor pulled me aside. "Your mom called," she said, uncomfortable. "Asked if you were okay." My stomach dropped. "She shouldn't have done that," I said. "She didn't say much," my supervisor added quickly. "Just sounded concerned." "Concerned. I'm fine," I replied. "Please don't share anything with her." My supervisor nodded. "Of course." That night, Evan found me sitting at the table, phone in my hand, not looking at it. "She's escalating," he said. "I know," I replied. "What are you going to do?" I thought about the note under the door. The friend she brought. The way she'd used the word unstable like it explained everything. "I'm going to stop responding entirely," I said. "You already have." "Then I'm going to make it impossible for her to reach me through other people." The next morning, I sent one final email. Not to her. To everyone who had contacted me on her behalf. "I'm not discussing this. Please don't relay messages. I won't respond." I didn't attach proof. I didn't explain. I blocked 3 more numbers before noon. That afternoon, there was a package outside my door. No return address. Inside was an old photo album. Pictures of me as a child. Birthday cakes. School plays. Evidence. A note was tucked inside the cover. "You can't erase me." My hands shook as I closed it. I walked to the trash chute at the end of the hall and dropped the album in without opening it again. The sound echoed longer than I expected. When I came back, my phone buzzed. Unknown number. I let the phone ring. Unknown numbers had become a pattern. A way around blocks. A test to see if I'd flinch. I didn't. It stopped. Started again. Then stopped. For good. That night, I slept with the phone in the other room. In the morning, there was an email waiting for me. Not from family, from a law office. My chest tightened as I opened it. It was brief, polite, vague. They represented my mother. She was concerned about defamatory statements and wanted to resolve things amicably. I read it twice. Defamatory. I forwarded the email to a friend who worked in compliance and asked one question. "Is this real?" Her reply came an hour later. "It's intimidation. Don't engage." I closed the email and archived it. That afternoon, Evan and I went for a walk. No destination. Just movement. The air was sharp and cold enough to sting my lungs. "She's running out of levers," he said. "I know," I replied. "That's when she pushes hardest." When we got back, there was another note under the door. This one wasn't neat. The paper was wrinkled. The ink pressed hard enough to leave grooves. "You owe me a conversation. You don't get to rewrite history. I am your mother." I stared at it for a long time. Then I did something I hadn't done yet. I picked up my phone and called the building manager. "I need to report repeated harassment," I said, "and I want her barred from the property." The manager asked for details. Dates. Evidence. I opened the drawer and pulled out the folder. The notes, the emails, the voicemail transcripts. "I have documentation," I said. "Send it," he replied. I did. An hour later, the manager emailed back. "We'll handle it." That evening, the knock came again. Short, sharp, angry. I didn't open the door. "You can't do this," my mother shouted through the wood. "You think paperwork makes you right?" I stood in the kitchen, hands on the counter, listening. "This is elder abuse," she yelled. "After everything I sacrificed." Her voice cracked on the last word. I didn't respond. Footsteps approached. Someone asked her to keep it down. Another voice joined in. Firmer. The building manager. "I need you to leave," he said. "You can't make me," she snapped. Yes, I can, he replied. You've been asked not to return. Silence followed. Then a scoff. You're choosing strangers over your own mother, she called. I didn't answer. The footsteps moved away. The elevator dinged. When it was quiet again, I exhaled slowly. I didn't feel guilty. I felt finished. The building stayed quiet after that. No knocks, no notes, no strangers hovering near the mailboxes pretending to check their phones. A different kind of pressure replaced it. Emails from extended family slowed to a trickle, then stopped. A few people unfriended me. One cousin posted a vague quote about forgiveness and blood being thicker than water. I muted it all. The absence felt deliberate, like people waiting to see if I'd blink. I didn't. A week later, a certified letter arrived. I recognized her handwriting immediately, even on the envelope. She'd pressed the pen hard enough to dent the paper. I didn't open it right away. I set it on the counter and made dinner first. Chopped onions, stirred sauce. Let the normal sounds anchor me. When I finally tore it open, there was no legal letterhead, no attorney. Just her. Page after page. Tight lines, no margins. She wrote about sacrifice. About loneliness. About how hard it was to be a single mother. About how she'd expected gratitude, not punishment. She never wrote the words, "I'm sorry." Halfway through, she wrote something that made my chest tighten. If you keep telling people this version, I won't have anyone left. There it was. The threat without teeth. I folded the letter carefully and put it back in the envelope. I didn't respond. The next call came from my uncle again. A different tone this time. Less confident. She's not well, he said. She's saying you've cut her off completely. I have, I replied. You don't have to be so absolute. I do, I said, because she doesn't stop otherwise. He was quiet. Then, she says you've always been cold. I almost laughed. She locked a door on a 12-year-old, I said. This is me being warm enough to answer the phone. That ended the call. 2 days later, Ruth stopped by again. No soup this time. She's moving, Ruth said. Told people she can't stand living near where you rejected her. I nodded. That sounds like her. She wanted me to tell you, Ruth added, that she hopes you regret this. I thought about the hallway, the chain, the paper in my hand. I don't, I said. That night, Evan and I sat on the floor sorting paperwork. When we reached the folder, I paused. You don't have to keep that, he said. I know, I replied. I slid the folder into a fireproof box instead. Not hidden. Not displayed. Contained. My phone buzzed once more before midnight. A final text from a number I didn't recognize. You'll come back. They always do. I blocked it without replying. Then I turned the phone off. The silence held. Days passed. Then weeks. No calls slipped through. No letters arrived with dented envelopes. No one hovered in the hallway pretending coincidence. The building felt like mine again. One evening, I came home to find the doorman sorting mail behind the desk. He looked up and nodded like he always did. No visitors today, he said. Thank you, I replied. I meant it more than he knew. Inside my apartment, the air felt different. Not lighter, just settled. Like dust after a door finally stays closed. I made dinner and ate, standing at the counter, scrolling through nothing important. When I finished, I washed the plate immediately instead of letting it sit. Small habits returning. Later, I opened the fireproof box. The folder was on top, exactly where I'd placed it, the edges neat, contained. I took it out and flipped through the pages one last time. Not to check facts, not to brace myself, just to acknowledge it. This happened. I slid the folder back in and closed the lid. I didn't lock it. That weekend, Evan and I went to a farmer's market across town. We wandered slowly, stopping for bread we didn't need and apples we already had at home. At one stall, a woman laughed loudly, calling for her daughter to come back. The girl hesitated, then ran toward her, arms swinging. I noticed the door behind the stall was propped open with a crate. Unlocked. I didn't feel anything sharp. No tug, no ache. Just awareness. That night, I dreamed of a door I could open from either side. In the morning, my phone buzzed once. A notification from the building manager. She's officially been listed as trespassed. You shouldn't hear from her again. I set the phone down and stood by the window. Sunlight caught the edge of the glass, warming my hand where it rested. Years ago, she locked a door and drove away. This time, when she knocked, I didn't open it, and nothing else was taken from me after that.